A movie like this with A-listers, a lot of them, should have been released in the movie theaters and been a contender for the Oscars. But at least it got released, and I'm so glad I can talk to you about The Unforgivable. This is a deeply emotional drama directed by Nora Finscheid, a German director who hasn't been on my radar for some reason, and it stars Sandra Bullock, Viola Davis, John Bernthal, Vince D'Onofrio, and a bunch of other amazing actors. It blew my mind. It made me feel things I didn't want to feel. It made me feel uncomfortable. It made me cry. It made me pull my beard. And this is a highly complex movie that banks a lot on editing, and the editing is amazing. The story basically centers around an ex-convict that has been released after a very long sentence, and she needs to figure out how she's gonna move on after a very traumatic event in the past and figure out what her life might be today. Sandra Bullock delivers one of her best performances. This is, a long career full of amazing performances, so it's a lot to say. But aside from very good performances, which obviously you will expect from A-listers that I just mentioned, to me the star is the very complex editing. There are shots that are very short, there are flashbacks, it's not exactly a linear story, it's leading you to believe one thing and then another, and because of the way the story is told, it is a very difficult editing job. And when I was watching, there isn't a single moment of a shot lingering longer than it needed to, and that is extremely masterful. And it's not only the great direction, but it's the editing. And I'm thinking, what's going on here? The editor must be a genius. And then I look at who the editor is, and it's Joe Walker. The guy who edited movies like Dune and Blade Runner and Sicario and Arrival. This guy is as much of an A-lister in the world of editing as the stars that are featured in this film. So it is a masterclass for those who are interested in editing on what to do and how to assemble this very complex story. This is by far not a movie without faults, but at no point did I feel bored. There was something interesting happening at all times, and you are trying to put this mystery together as to what happened and what triggered the events that we see unfold, and also what will happen as a consequence of the choices that the main protagonist, played by Sandra Bullock, is forced to do, and the people around her. It is very difficult to leave prison and try to say, I'm going to leave the life that I had before I got into prison, and I'm going to leave it alone. And I completely understand where this character is coming from without having to experience prison or that level of loss and complex dynamics with the people around me. The story is very interesting. It has a couple of plot points that I didn't really care for, and it would be totally fine to exclude them from the story, but I understand this is an adaptation of a TV show, so I get why those plot points have to be in there. The other very engaging thing is the score. What an amazing score. It's tension building, it's very emotional, it connects with you, and it doesn't stop. It's subtle, but you feel it, and sometimes it helps you understand the emotional drive of the characters if it's not explicit at that moment, because the motivations and reasoning of the characters is subtle and it's fractured because of the editing, the way the story is told. The more I kept listening to the score, the more you get the understanding that there's something familiar about it. Well, Hans Zimmer. Yeah, the guy who we love for doing all of the great scores for the Nolan films, the Batman Begins and the Inceptions and the Interstellars and the Dunes and everything, that the score is actually almost like a character. So this movie has A-listers, an amazing editor, an amazing composer, a great director, very solid story. Altogether, I was blown away, and I saw it on Netflix. It appeared briefly on What to Watch or recently released, and I just let it be. I saw Sandra Bullock on the poster, and I thought I'm going to eventually watch it, and I'm so glad I did. And I'm very, very sad that there aren't that many people talking about this film, because it deserves a lot of praise. I honestly believe that if this movie was released a decade ago, it would have been released with a huge theatrical run and would have been a contender for the Oscars for a variety of things. Altogether, it was very entertaining. I wasn't bored at any point. The performances took me to a different place. And yeah, I probably would suggest you grab a box of tissues because you might be crying like I did. So, if you watched The Unforgivable, what did you think about it? I'm Jin from Get Me More, and you know where to find me. Thanks for watching.